Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, July 14th, 2016. It's in the Spotlight 411 show. Coming at you here on this Thursday night. Apologize for the late start. I'll explain what's going on in just a few moments. But as always, I want to remind you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please use the hashtags hashtag ITSpotlight411, hashtag ITS5. That one, of course, for our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. Or you can create your own hashtag as long as you're not insulting, disrespectful, or negative about it. Just be creative, have fun, but just don't be disrespectful. That's all we ask. So you can use hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, depending on what we're talking about. Come up with your own hashtag if you wish. Just use hashtag ITS in it, so it helps us promote the show. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our page upon finding it. I forgot to do them reminders at the top of the show on Tuesday, so I want to make sure I get them done right out of the gate here tonight. Okay, so we are on the air late tonight. Thankfully, you know what? I got to say this because, you know what, when we work in a second job and all, sometimes this does happen. Usually not this late, but it does happen. If you're going to be, I've always said this, if you're going to be late and you're going to have to start a show like really late, you want it to be a show that you don't have a lot to do. Like you could get through it quick if you need to. And I always hate to get through things quick because I feel like I'm not giving you all what you deserve, which is a quality, full show. But you know what? We got to do what we got to do. And Tuesday we got to do a short show, and tonight we're going to do a short show. So, it was a calamity kind of thing. I thought I'd be out of work at 7:30 on time. That did not happen. Didn't get out till 7:45. Then I had to go run an errand, which ended up taking much longer than expected because there was a car accident nearby. I had to go out of my way, and it was one thing after. And then I come home, turn my computer on. My computer's installing updates, which took about 25 minutes. And then when my computer finally stops updating, it's pretty much going berserk crazy and not letting me do anything. So yeah, it's been a fun night. Just for the record. As I welcome in he was here briefly. Is he still here? Yes, he is. My co-host Mike is in the spotlight. How you doing, Mike?
Few better days. Had better days.
Had better days. All right. So here's the deal for tonight. As I mentioned on Tuesday, we finished the draft stuff. That's done. We kind of and we did wrestling pretty much. That's all we really did. We have a sports entertainment combo show tonight. Now it's very rare that I do that unless there's something big going on. But there was a lot of NBA free agent stuff that took place over last week. We did not get the chance to discuss it. We didn't have time to discuss that on Tuesday. I thought we'd have more time tonight, which we do, because the entertainment stuff is not going to take us very long. First of all, TV highlights, if we have any, might take maybe like 3 minutes if we're lucky. And Box Office Beat is going to be a pretty quick segment too. So knowing that we didn't have a lot of entertainment stuff that we needed to get to this week, I felt like we could continue some of the NBA stuff, most notably the free agency stuff tonight, and make that the bulk of tonight's show. So that's what we're going to do. I mentioned on Tuesday we might do a little MLB stuff. We are not going to do that. We'll leave that for next week. Again, next Tuesday we will not have a show. We will be off the air. We will be preempted. We're doing this for our wrestling fans. It is the first SmackDown live, and it's a draft night, so we thought that'd be nice to not do a show opposite that. We will have one show next week, next Thursday, and that will be a big, big show, very full show, because we're going to do our usual sports stuff. We're going to do our usual entertainment stuff, and which means Box Office Beat, usual NBA, MLB, whatever segments that we usually do. And then we're going to be previewing WWE's Battleground pay-per-view, which will be taking place a week from Sunday. So a lot of wrestling next week. We'll be previewing WWE's Battleground pay-per-view next Thursday. We'll go over the matches, all that good stuff. Now, I don't know how much time we're going to have for questions and comments. We will try to get to some. We probably won't have a lot of time. If you'd like to send them in, wrestling fans out there, you may do so, or you can do so during the show. I do not know. Honestly, I don't know if we'll get to them at all, but if we do, we won't get to that many, so just be aware of that. Again, you can email, Facebook, or tweet your questions before or during the show next Thursday, so just be aware of that. So that's the only show we have next week, and then the week after, we'll be back to a normal schedule. People have been asking me about the TV awards. Again, we're not starting that process for 2 more weeks. We're going to do things a little differently this year. So, okay, I think that addresses pretty much everything. So that's all out of the way. Let's get right down to it so that we don't waste any time. We will start off with the entertainment stuff because that's very, very quick. We're going to start off with the box office beat. And now look, in the past, we've been off the air for a couple weeks. And a lot of ways we go back and look at every single detail of the last 2 weeks. We are not going to do that. We are not going to do that. We're going to do a general overview. One of the big things that we were talking about going into these last couple of weeks was the 4th of July weekend. We've been discussing it. There's been a paranoia in Hollywood because a lot of movies have underperformed. Many people were worried about how this summer was going to go. The Memorial Day period box office weekend once again was a disaster for many studios, many studios' eyes, I should say. And then there was the feeling that the 4th of July, which has been bad the last couple of years, will be once again bad. Now, granted, Memorial Day this year I don't think was as bad of a weekend at the box office as it was last year. But still, it classified as something that it shouldn't be. And we talked about, the fact that with the way things are now and so many big movies coming out all year round, and even and other weekends in the summer that it wouldn't normally have come out like 5, 6, 7 years ago, that changes the game a little bit. These holiday weekends are no longer what they used to be. They're never, those are the weekends these big movies used to come out. Now they don't. It's just the way it is. So, but we mentioned going into the 4th of July weekend. Let's see how the 4th of July weekend does. Will it follow the same path that Memorial Day weekend has? Will it be as bad as it's been the last couple of years? Well, going in, Independence Day did not do very well. Now, again, this is one of those instances where, is it a flop domestically? Oh, yeah, it's a flop domestically. But at the same time, it's not it's as bad of a flop overall as you probably would expect it to be. And to that end, you look back at Finding Dory has done what it's supposed to do. It's done what it's supposed to now. Independence Day did a $41 million opening the weekend of June 24th. All right, that's for a lot of movies that'd be great. For Independence Day, it's not. Up right now, as of today, it's up to $309 million. It's made $215 million overseas on 165. So it classifies as a modest hit. Should it be a lot more? Yeah, it's not a lot more because it only made $94 million US. So it's a domestic flop. It's an international hit, and we've seen that. And Mike will tell you, a couple years ago we had the same thing in the summer, where a lot of the big movies did better overseas than they did here. They were called flops. You're not a flop if you make that much over your budget. You're not a flop. You're not. You're not a great success, but you're not a flop. And we've seen that trend this summer. And again, we had that same issue a couple summers ago as well. Now, so Independence Day, and again, we said that Independence Day could be either Jurassic World or it could be Terminator Salvation. It was Terminator Salvation. That's what it was. Finding Dory's done everything you'd expect it to do. It's won several weekends in a row. Central Intelligence has been the hit we all thought it would be. I've seen a lot of people go off on Now You See Me. I don't think Now You See Me 2 has been that bad of a bad. What were you expecting from it? It's made $241.2 million. It was never, the first one wasn't a big hit. It was a modest hit. Then that's all they're looking for with it. And they already greenlit the third movie anyway. The Shallows has done very well. And at a $17 million budget, it's up to $50.1 million. So that's a hit. I mean, there have been success stories outside of Finding Dory over these last couple of weeks. Free State of Jones, not much you can say about it. Nobody expected to do much of anything anyway. It's the wrong time of year for that kind of movie. But it's made $19.7 million. It's got a $50 million budget. That's not too bad. Could have been a lot worse. It's R-rated. But when you look at the 4th of July weekend, obviously you look at 3-day and 4-day, especially with July 4th being on a Monday. You had 3 movies. You had The Legend of Tarzan, The Purge, Election Year, and the BFG. The one movie that I would say I was worried about of that bunch, obviously I thought The Legend of Tarzan would be a complete and utter flop, okay? I've said that it would be the biggest flop all along of the summer. I felt that way going in. Was it? It's not a huge flop, but it still hasn't made its budget back. $89.8 million domestically, $56 million overseas, $145.8 million. It's got a $180 million budget. So it might end up at least breaking even and making some profit, but still. So maybe it's not some historic flop, but it's still going to end up probably being mostly a flop. And again, that's a movie. Tarzan's been done so many times, and it's a movie that I just feel like there was no anticipation for. The Purge was going to make money no matter what. It's a $10 million budget, so it's going to make a profit. This movie was going to make money no matter what. It's already made $66 million. You know you'll get another one whether you want it or not. That was a given. There's no storyline there. The BFG was the movie I was worried about because I knew the movie would be good. But other than the people that read the book and other than a small collective group of people that started getting excited about this movie a couple weeks before its release, I didn't see anybody really pushing to go see this movie. And it's getting very good reviews. It's just the problem is it never got the interest of a mainstream audience. It never did. And it's hard to fathom because it's a Spielberg movie and it's Disney. Now, I've seen a lot of people point to the fact that Disney's had too many movies released in a short period of time. A lot of people think that hurt Alice Through the Looking Glass. Now, a lot of people think it's hurt the BFG. I don't think so because they're all very distinctly different properties. I don't think Captain America Civil War hurts Alice Through the Looking Glass. And don't say Jungle Book did because Jungle Book had been out so many weeks before Alice Through the Looking Glass that it had no indent on it. The only movie Jungle Book would have had any impact on was Civil War because only 2 weeks after that. And Finding Dory would not have any impact on the BFG. I know they both appeal to family audiences, but Finding Dory had been out 3 weeks. It was in its third week before the BFG was even released. If people want to see these movies, they're going to come out to see these movies. So that's on a holiday weekend. You're not going to go, well, in Finding Dory, other than with adults, you're not going to have too many kids and families going for repeat viewings of Finding Dory. Once they see it once, that's all families can afford. So, I don't think that would have hurt the BFG. I just think I saw somebody, and I hate to bring politics into it, but it's a good analogy, so I'm going to use it. I saw somebody post this. They said, the BFG is the Bernie Sanders at the box office. It caught momentum way too late. That's what the BFG was. It only started to pick up momentum a couple weeks before its release. If it had started about a month or 2 months before, it probably would have done much better. And that's just the bottom line. It's made $54.4 million so far. It's got a $140 million budget. It's not looking good. Now, you carry what happened with the 4th of July week. If you look at the 4th of July weekend, was it a success? It was not as bad as last year, no. Finding Dory was the winner again. It's 3 weeks in a row. Made $51.4 over the 4 days. Legend of Tarzan, $46.5 over the 4 days. The Purge, $36.1. The BFG, $22.7. Independence Day, $21 million. $15 million for Central Time. That's actually not bad. Collectively, as a group, it was better, I think. So I don't think it was a disastrous weekend. I think Hollywood got through. I don't think it was ideal, but I think I think you can deal with it, especially given what's happened this summer. But especially given what happened the week after, and this is something to keep an eye on going forward here. And it shows you how these holiday weekends. This is why they don't do as well. How many people held off on seeing a movie so they could see The Secret Life of Pets the weekend after the 4th of July? Might be a lot, especially since The Secret Life of Pets pulled in $104.3 million its opening weekend, and maybe it rode the coattails of the Despicable Me franchise. People have grown to like Illumination Entertainment and what they do, and maybe that's what happened. But at the same time, that's a movie that's been marketed for so long and built up so much momentum. It was fairly predictable that it would do what it did. Maybe not to this degree, but it's already made $184.9 million, $75 million. So it's well on its way. Now, many people wondered, why didn't this movie release on 4th of July weekend? Didn't have to. Plus, they probably saw they wanted to get as far away from Finding Dory as possible, which is smart, and they saw the BFG there. Not stupid. The fact that this movie pulled in over $100 million when Finding Dory still pulled in $20.8 in last weekend is remarkable. And also, I'll give Legend of Tarzan credit. It pulled in a pretty good hole, despite the fact it lost a lot of theaters. $21 million is a pretty good hole. The other big movie last weekend was Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, put in $16.6 million. Now, on the surface, that might not seem like a lot. But for that kind of movie, it's only a $33 million budget movie, R-rated. That's pretty good. Put in 26.6. They'll make a small profit, and that's probably all they hope for with it. So if you look over the last few weeks, what's the big storylines? Secret Life of Pets probably exceeding expectations. Legend of Tarzan being a flop, maybe not as big of a flop as you thought, but a flop. Independence Day, very much underperforming. Not a complete flop, but very much underperforming. Finding Dory is a success we all thought would be. Central Intelligence continuing to do well. The PERS did what it was supposed to do. The BFG showed us that we were right to worry about it. And that's where you're at. That's where you're at right now. And The Shallows has been a modest hit. So that's where you're at. Before we look at this weekend, Mike, do you have anything to add?
No, I haven't been paying attention to the box office. I heard that what was it? I heard that BFG kind of flopped, but I don't know. I still have faith in that one for whatever reason. Not that it'll make its money back here,
right? But overseas,
but overseas it could make a difference,
right? I can see your point.
So,
I hope so. I've heard good things about it. So,
well, I've heard nothing but great things about the BFG. It's just, look, if you're going to start doing promotion for a movie, you might want to start fairly early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for something like that,
Yep. Agreed. Well, I mean, I saw somebody earlier today post something. If the BFG had gotten even half the promotion that the Secret Life of Pets or Finding Dory got, it probably would have done easily about another $20 million in opening weekend.
Oh, easily, but it didn't get the promotion.
No, it didn't. You're right.
That's just it. It didn't get promotion.
Yeah. So yeah, it's 100%. Yep. All right. So now we look ahead. And, now you're getting into mid-July. It's hard to believe. We're heading towards the tail end of the summer. But there's a lot of potential big movies still left. This summer has a little bit of a backloaded kind of thing going for it. And the storyline for this weekend might be changing in a lot of ways because one of the releases of the summer that really... This is probably the most derisive release of the whole summer right now. And that is Ghostbusters. This is a movie that a lot of people are not high on, going in. They don't like the fact they're rebooting this. It has nothing to do with the fact it's all women. Don't go crazy on that. It has everything to do with the fact that people feel like a lot of people just don't want them to remake this. They would have rather had an actual sequel. They just don't want them to do this. It's nothing to do with who they casted or whatever. It's just a feeling of this is something that a lot of people just don't feel like should be rebooted, despite even with the cameos that are in the movie. So this was a weekend that a lot of people looked at that could either be good or could be really bad. And then after this, you got some big movies like Ice Age and Star Trek, and then you still got Jason Bourne and Suicide Squad, which is starting to track very, very well, by the way. And then Pete's Dragon. But there's still a lot of big movies still left that could pull in some numbers. What's interesting is over the last few days, there have been two things that have made people feel like this summer could still have a lot of momentum still left in it. Suicide Squad tracking well over 100 million for an opening weekend. And Ghostbusters now tracking very, very well, potentially heading for 50 to 60 million, where a couple weeks ago, it was lucky if it breaks 30. And why is that happening? Because there have been people that have seen it. It's starting to get good buzz. It's starting to get good reviews. And some of the negativity is starting to wane a little bit when it comes to this movie. Not necessarily with me, but... with some important enough factions that it's starting to turn the tide with this movie and get some momentum for it. Now, we've been talking about, so let's address it. Ghostbusters, a horror comedy from Sony Columbia. It's opening in 3,963 theaters. Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, Chris Hemsworth, all-star. There's also cameos by Sigourney Weaver, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson.
Hudson.
Yep. So there's some good cameos in there. Now look, it's going to get the female audience. That was a given. Okay. It was going to make at least 30 million. That was a given. It's been marketed very well. With the buzz, I do see it hitting at least 50 million now. I think it's got that trajectory going for it. My feeling now is you start to wonder if it could even get above 60 because of the fact it's got the makings of a movie that it does modest on Friday and then it gets a bigger boost than you thought it would on Saturday because people go see it just out of curiosity. It's got that feeling going for it. It's going to be a success. It's whether you like it or not, it's going to be a success. So, and it's getting the endorsements of a lot of the original Ghostbusters, so that's helping it along now. So you're looking at least 50 million for Ghostbusters this weekend, at least. The only other movie opening, and it opened yesterday, was The Infiltrator. It's from Broad Green Pictures, a drama thriller opening in only 1600 theaters, so not a major release by any means. Starring Bryan Cranston, John Leguizamo, Amy Ryan, Jason Isaacs, and Diane Kruger. Again, not a lot expected. This movie R-rated. If it pulls in above 5 million, consider it lucky. It's this weekend belongs to Ghostbusters. The question is, will Ghostbusters do enough to be number one? I wouldn't have said so 3 days ago. Now, if it pulls in above 60, I think it's guaranteed to be number one. If it doesn't, then it's going to be very close between Ghostbusters and the sequel of Pets. I think sequel of Pets is probably going to be right around that 50 to 55 million mark. So if you want to be number one, you want to clear that to make sure. But those are going to be your number one and number two movies. So, and then after that, they're all fall into place. You'll have your, Independence Day and Finding Dory will probably be in third, and then you'll have like Independence Day and BFG and all those other movies, and depending on how they hold, that they'll all fall into place. I don't want to get into too many details about that because really it's more about the top three, and that will be Ghostbusters, Secret Life of Pets, and Finding Dory because those are the ones that have been doing the best. So, so that's the way this weekend looks. Mike, do you have anything to add before we move on?
I have not been a fan of the Ghostbusters movie. I really, really haven't. I honestly think it doesn't look good. I've heard rumors that that a lot of the early reviews, have been paid for by Sony, which is something that
it happens.
Some studios do if they've invested a lot of money into a project and it's been getting raked over the coals. The movie doesn't look great to me. Again, it's not because of the actresses involved. It's not because it's the female Ghostbusters. If honest to God, they're doing the film and the actresses a disservice by just saying, "Oh, well, if you don't like it, well, you're a misogynist. Screw you." Which was their big defense
right
a while ago. Oh, well, if you don't like it, you're a misogynist, you hate women, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. You're not letting your film stand on its own merits. And the fact that a lot of these reviews allegedly have been paid for, it's very manipulative. Very manipulative. I'm not a fan of a tactic like that. I was not interested in the movie to begin with. It just does not look good. The writing doesn't look. It doesn't look well written. It doesn't look funny. So it'll have its audience. I liked the first Ghostbusters movie. The second one was all right. Apparently, that video game that came out a couple of years ago in the late 2000s was essentially Ghostbusters 3. And with Harold Ramis passing, there wasn't really going to be a Ghostbusters 3. So I felt like they should have just let this one lie, But here we are. It'll make its money. Do what it will. It just doesn't look entertaining. Although I will say the Bryan Cranston, John Leguizamo movie looks pretty good. I don't know if I'd go see it, but it looks pretty good. So, that. Okay, that sounds interesting.
What?
Nothing.
I had to blow my nose.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson, so I don't get like complained about and
Yes. But I just made all the points I was going to make. So the Bryan Cranston movie looks good.
It does.
I think, you know what? I think Secret Life of Pets might repeat here because I just don't think there's enough positive word of mouth to kind of supersede everything. But who knows?
Well, this weekend is kind of what I like to call the turning point weekend, because now we're going to have, next couple of weeks, we're going to have some big budget, big blockbuster kind of guarantee hit kind of movies. We're going to have Ice Age and Star Trek next week. The week after, Jason Bourne. And then the week after that, Suicide Squad, which, even if you're not a DC fan right now, it's looking like it's probably going to have DC's best opening weekend for a movie since the Nolan movies. That's probably what it's looking at right now. So, and then Pete's Dragon. So you got a couple weeks where you're going to have some pretty big movies coming out that are going to do very well. So we'll be talking about them along the way, obviously. So that's the box office beat as it currently stands. Before we exit the entertainment realm, TV highlights. I don't have any because I have been away and I haven't really gotten a chance to watch much of anything outside of a few sporting events and stuff over the last few weeks. So I am a blank when it comes to TV highlights. Mike, do you have any TV highlights to throw in there?
Other than the Person of Interest finale, which was about a month ago now.
Right.
Holy crap, it's about a month ago now. The only TV show I've seen is called Endeavor, which is a masterpiece mystery show. It's formerly a BBC show. It's it's a prequel to the show Inspector Morse, when it's a prequel to the show Inspector Lewis, which of course is a sequel to Inspector Morse. Inspector Lewis it's going to air its final season on PBS very soon. No, but the show Endeavor is it's a detective show set in the 1950s.
Oh,
it's actually pretty good. Very clever, good writing, great acting. It's actually the only thing I've watched lately, so I haven't had the time. I mean, I might have slightly more time for the moment now, but that's about it.
okay. All right, so I didn't think we'd have much. That's why I said that we'd probably get through that pretty quick. So, all right, so we can move out of the entertainment realm now. We can go back into the sports realm and back to some NBA, which has been really a big source of discussion for us over the last few weeks. And we focused on the draft and over the last couple shows that we've done, and now we're going to focus on the other aspect of the early NBA offseason, which is free agency. And it's funny, I remember a couple years ago, and I think the year after that particular year that I'm thinking of, it was a free agent frenzy. A lot, the build up to it, everybody was like, "Oh, I can't wait for that. It's going to be a lot of drama." And then the year after was kind of the same way. But then the last couple of years, it hasn't been very, the build up hasn't been very dramatic. You haven't had like that kind of frenzy. This year wasn't supposed to be that. Yeah, you had Kevin Durant. But for the most part, everybody thought everybody thought Durant was going to stay. Everybody thought Dwayne Wade was going to stay. And so because of that, nobody really thought there was going to be that much movement. Wow, what a difference about 10 days makes. Because, we have a source on this show. We've had this person over the years, and they've broken stories to us along the way. And I was speaking to this person a couple days before we went on hiatus. Our show went on hiatus, and they had told me that there's no way, in any way, that Kevin Durant is leaving the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I said, that's funny because a year ago I would have said that, and in the fall I would have said that, and even around the All-Star break I would have said that. But I had heard over the last couple of weeks since the Thunder lost to the Warriors that he was waffling on that a little bit. And he said, and this source said, no, he's not going to leave. There's no way that he is leaving the Oklahoma City Thunder. He just doesn't want to be seen as that guy. He doesn't want to go through what LeBron went through or what Dwight went through. He wants to stay put. He just wants to use his position to get Oklahoma City to stop, to really commit to remaining competitive in that championship team. Because let's face it, Oklahoma City, and this is why I really don't have a problem with Durant leaving. I don't like Durant going where he went, but I don't have a problem with Durant leaving. And here's why. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder gave Durant a reason to leave when they traded James Harden. I understand that they felt like they couldn't keep him that, but look, at that point they've gone to the finals. They had a team. They just had to make a couple different moves, and they would have had they would have won a championship. They would have won a championship eventually. You don't break that up. You do not break that up. You look at all these teams. They found ways. They renegotiated. They found ways to keep teams together. You do not break that up in this day and age. And they willingly did that for no other reason than to make sure that they didn't get in trouble with the cap. And then you fast forward a few years, and obviously, the year before last, Durant and Westbrook were both hurt. I understand that. That was you wiped that year off. But then you fast forward to this year. Oklahoma City has this unbelievable year. They get Billy Donovan. Everything's clicked. Durant's happy. Westbrook is happy. They look good together for the first. I mean, obviously they had their problems, their ups and downs, yeah. But they came very close this year. They came very close this year. They were back. And what do? Okay, they lose. All right, so what? You got this great team. You want to try to keep as many assets as you can. Obviously, Durant wants assurance that you're going to keep a lot of this team together. And apparently, they were not willing to commit to that. They basically said to Durant, after this year, we're going to probably have to let some of these guys go. We cannot keep you and keep all these guys. And Westbrook will be a free agent next year. So basically, what you told Durant is you're going to blow this team up in a year. So why should he sign there? There's no reason to. So he had every right to leave, as Westbrook has every right to leave. If that's what you're going to do, then they have every right to leave. It ain't like LeBron leaving Cleveland. Cleveland was committed to bringing people in. Cleveland was going to do whatever they wanted to do. LeBron just left. So Kevin Durant had every right to leave. Should he have gone to Golden State? I don't like it. You want to know why I don't? Now I can understand. Now, see, for Durant, who doesn't care if he gets the ball or not, as we've documented on this show, he probably thinks this is the best thing in the world. He fits right into the system. This is not going to be an issue. This is not going to be an issue. This is not going to be a chemistry issue at all. He's going to love it there. And it's going to work out very well for them. But you think about, as a player of that nature, and Durant, to me, had already taken a significant hit in terms of this. You think about your legacy. LeBron James has saved his legacy. Dwayne Wade has a legacy. Kobe Bryant has a legacy. Even Kyrie Irving now has a legacy. Kevin Durant doesn't have one. And if he's going to a team now, he's only there for 2 years, which is a smart deal for him because he can maybe pull a LeBron and go back to Oklahoma City. And I kind of hope he does. But if you think about this, let's say Durant in these 2 years, let's say Golden State wins the next 2 titles. What's this going to say for his legacy? Well, you're going to see 2 titles on his ledger. Helps with his Hall of Fame credentials. But here's the thing. It's not going to say that he led them to those titles. Even if he wins the Finals MVP, there's still other guys. They're going to say, well, if we didn't have Curry, if he didn't have Thompson or Green, it wouldn't have happened. Just like LeBron. We said it on the show for 2 years. If he didn't have Wade or Bosh, Kobe heard that for years. If he didn't have Shaq, that's what he's going to face until he wins one on his own, and he's one of those leaders. If he stays with Oklahoma City, him and Westbrook are the leaders. And forget about Westbrook. Even with Westbrook there, that's Durant's team. That always has been Durant's team. It always has been. That's why him being passive about it is just mind-boggling to me. Take the bull by the horns and take control of your team. Be the guy. But Durant's never wanted to be the guy. And that's the difference between him and LeBron. LeBron's always wanted to be the guy, but at one point he gave up. He said, I just got to go somewhere and win a title. And he did that. He came back, and now he got the gigantic monkey off his back, and now he's set for life. Durant has never cared about being the guy, and he never will. And for a lot of guys, a lot of the big-name players in this league over the big-name all-stars, the legacy guys, the legends of this game, for a lot of them, that is almost offensive. Because you should want to be the guy. You can't go into the pantheon of great legends and great players if you don't want to be the guy. You can't. You have to have that killer instinct. You have to have that instinct to command each and every play. And he does not have that. And he just backed that up with what he just did. I like Kevin Durant. I do. But I respect him leaving. I don't have an issue with him leaving. If he went to the Celtics, I think that would have been great for him. That's why I thought he'd go, to be honest. I thought he could lead that team. A bunch of young guys around him, he could lead that team. Instead, he goes to a team that's never going to be his. That team will always be Steph Curry with a side of Klay Thompson. It will never change. He's a free agent next year, Steph Curry. You know he ain't leaving. That team's too close. And I understand for Durant, everybody's close. I want to be a part of that. That's great. You can want to be a part, but there's a lot of teams that are like that. Golden State's not the only team that's close. Trust me. And the process he gave us, not that we already didn't assume, but he basically all but told us that him and Westbrook had major issues, which we all knew. We all knew that. That was obvious for years. So Kevin Durant makes this move. Now Golden State, hey, good for you. Go ahead and win another 70 games next year, but it doesn't mean you're going to win the title. You got to stay healthy, number one. Number two, it has to all work together. And Durant, we've all seen Durant have some awful shooting games and be very passive. So, I don't think that guarantees anything. You're not getting Kobe Bryant in his prime. That's not a knock on Durant. But if this is Kobe Bryant in his prime going to Golden State, then that's a completely different story, and you can crown them right now. Kevin Durant is just not that kind of player that really gives you a slam dunk. He's an all-star. He's one of the greatest players in this game today, yes. When he's 100% aggressive and present, yes, he is. He's to me he's the most to me he is the most unguardable player in the NBA when he's 100% aggressive because of his length. But he doesn't show that often enough. So has this changed the league? Oh, it's changed the league in a lot of ways. And I know Adam Silver is talking about, oh, this shouldn't be a lot. You know, we should reopen the collective bargaining agreement, all this other stuff. Look, I don't have an issue with it. Because you know what? It doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't. So, it is what it is. We'll see where it goes. Obviously, Golden State's got other issues. Draymond Green got arrested. So, you know, they got to deal with that. Before I get to the Dwayne Wade deal, Mike, do you have anything to add on Kevin Durant?
Yeah. I don't want to talk for too long because it's after 10 o'clock and, you know.
Yeah.
I would like to get some rest tonight at some point. I still have to be up early. Here's the thing. Yes. The Draymond Green thing happened. I'm gonna look at this from Golden State. If you were Golden State, what was your biggest weakness? What was your biggest weakness?
Rim protection was a big weakness.
Rim protection? Offensively, what was your biggest weakness?
Well,
finding somebody to go inside, right?
Well, yeah, inconsistent shooting at times. Yeah, generally. Okay.
Well, you're a shooting team. You're a team full of shooters. Inconsistent shooting comes with the territory.
True.
You are one-dimensional, and that is what killed you in the finals.
Right.
So, you go out and you get one of the best players in the NBA who exceeds and excels at going to the basket. Wouldn't you make that move?
Obviously. Yeah.
I would make that move too.
Yeah, no doubt.
Excuse me. So if I'm Golden State, yeah, I'm making that deal.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Kevin Durant, highest scoring player in the game, can attack you from anywhere. I'm trying to pull up the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because I think there's another there was another reason why they left. Why Durant wanted to leave. Let's see, Oklahoma City. It just kind of, if it's what I think it is, because they got Oladipo, yeah.
Right.
Didn't they trade somebody that was very, very, very important?
Oklahoma City?
Yeah, other than
Ibaka.
Durant.
Ibaka.
Yes. That was the guy. I'm sorry. That's who I was looking for. All right. Do you know who was the top guy in Oklahoma City's locker room? Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka was the guy, whenever there was an issue, Serge Ibaka was that locker room leader.
Yes, agreed.
He was the guy, he was the glue. Serge Ibaka kept that team together. And by getting rid of Ibaka, you essentially got rid of a Durant already because you said, look, we are prioritizing, yeah, we're going to blow up the team. We want you to be it's either going to be you or Russell. And you just happen to come up first. And Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant haven't gotten along in a very, very long time. And it's because Russell Westbrook is a me-first point guard. He is a two-guard who handles the ball almost exclusively. Kevin Durant is the top scorer in the NBA, and I don't know how he managed that. Because he must be one of the top rebounders in the NBA. I believe that is the case. But Kevin Durant, it was either him or Westbrook. In the end, Durant decided what was best for him. Yes, he is a passive player. Yes, this is going to hurt his legacy. Yes, this is never going to be his team. He knows this. I think that's why he's like, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere where I don't have to be the guy, and I'm not going to be accused for not being the guy because I've got this point guard who doesn't want to pass to me ever. Especially when we are up 3-1 in the playoffs. 3-1. And Russell, and all they needed to do is pass the ball to Durant, who was wide open. They were up 3-1 on the Warriors. And then they were up 3-2 on the Warriors. And in those moments, Russell Westbrook wanted to be the hero. We gave Kyrie Irving a lot of crap, but when it came down to it, he certainly passed the ball to LeBron James like he was supposed to, didn't he?
No.
Didn't he? He gave the ball to LeBron when LeBron needed the ball.
Right.
Kevin Durant, you know what? For a guy who considered one of the top 3 or 4 players in the NBA, it was embarrassing for Oklahoma City to leave one of the best players in the NBA wide open in the playoffs when you have a chance to win. Russell Westbrook was double teamed. Now he doesn't have to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the guy. Yeah, it might be a slap in the face for legacy, but in the end, the Thunder essentially chose Westbrook over him.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, you're right.
They got Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo, from his time in college, is a talented cutter, a talented scorer. He is essentially a cheaper version of Durant. Cheaper, smaller version of Durant.
Right.
They're going to build around Westbrook and Oladipo. That's just how it is. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant's going to go to Golden State. He doesn't have to be the guy. He just has to fit into the system. He's going to get his 28. He's going to get his, or even 25. Because even if Draymond Green is out for a long time because that boy got arrested, they just signed Harrison Varejao.
Right.
They just signed a couple of other bigs to anticipate Draymond Green not being there because homeboy got arrested for fighting in East Lansing. That's just how it is. And besides, Kevin Durant can get his own rebound. Kevin Durant can be a monster on the offensive side. And more importantly for Golden State, Kevin Durant fills the one weakness they had. So, the Splash Brothers aren't making a splash? Well, who can take the ball? Kevin Durant. That's it.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what? Yeah, there's a lot of hate on this move. I understand why there's a lot of hate. It's essentially a crappier version of LeBron to Miami. They built a super team out in Golden State. I don't understand why Kevin Durant's going to... I understand why Kevin Durant's going to get all this hate, but in the end, when you really break it down, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He got paid. He goes to a team that has undeniable chemistry. He fits in well with the system, and more importantly, he doesn't have to deal with Russell Westbrook anymore and the threat that they're going to blow up the team in a year. Because and the fact that they traded his best friend on the team.
Right.
So they've essentially said, screw you, Kevin. And he said, well, here's double. And you know what? He'll win a ring. He'll probably win a ring. Maybe 2. Do they beat Cleveland again with Kevin Durant? Unless Kevin Love has a career year next year, probably. Good thing LeBron got it off his back. Good thing, because do I think Golden State wins 70 again? No. Do I think they win a ring next year? More than likely. It's not buying into the hype if it's accurate. On paper, it's the best team in the NBA, and I feel like it's not going to be much different.
And remember, he only did sign for 2 years. So
He signed for 2 years. If he wants to re-sign, that's fine.
Yep. And the rumor going into that week was that he signed a 1 year with the Thunder just to see how things would end up. That was the rumor.
No.
He'd only signed for 1 year because next year with the cap changing, that would make some difference in the deals that he was getting. But nope, that's not what happened.
No,
So,
he wanted that. He wanted the guaranteed 2 years, the 2 excellent shot at the championship. I know it's well, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. Well,
right.
That's fine.
Right. No, you're right. Now, speaking of guys that get screwed, and we're not going. This one's not as much of a layered topic, but Dwayne Wade, who Mike will tell you for years, really was underappreciated. This is a guy that took pay cut after pay cut, renegotiated his deal, took less money so that the team could remain competitive year in and year out, even beyond the big three. Obviously, with LeBron and Bosh, he did that and recruited them. But, but even in the last few years, so that they could maintain a competitive team, played through injury after injury after injury, which led to it taking a toll on his numbers. Dwayne Wade is in my opinion, one of the most, it should be considered one of the most respected players in the NBA. He carries himself well. He's teachable. He's always been coachable. He keeps everything in house. Doesn't bring drama to the floor. Everybody loves Dwayne Wade, and he finally had enough because he got screwed over again. Again, they were lowballing. This was going to be Wade's last contract. And you know what? I think for Wade, and he had every right to think this, because he has not been money hungry. This is a guy that's put his own value aside for years. I think he felt like, okay, now they can give me a little bit more money in the contract because it's my last contract, kind of like a thank you. They couldn't even do that. And Pat Riley doesn't even talk to Dwayne Wade during negotiations. Dwayne Wade, just like Durant, had a right to leave. In fact, Dwayne Wade probably should have went a couple years ago. Now, I would have liked to see him go to a winning situation. Chicago is not going to be a winning situation. I mean, they might barely make the playoffs next year. It's a possibility. But, they're not going to be a championship contender. I would have loved to see him go to Boston or even the Knicks or something. But he wants to play in his hometown, something he's dreamed about. You can't fault that. And he already has 3 titles. And his legacy is intact. So, and he doesn't come off a villain here because he's the one that got screwed over. Over and over again. So, was it a shock? It was a very big shock. I thought he finished his career there. I thought if he was going to go to Chicago, he would have done it a couple years ago after the big 3 broke up. Didn't happen. But this is not a Kevin Durant situation. Dwayne Wade's not going to get hate for it, and he shouldn't. And there's really not else you can say about it other than that. He had every right to go, and he did. Mike, you have anything to add?
With Dwayne Wade going to
Chicago,
yes, I'm aware of this deal. Really quickly, yes, he got screwed over by Miami. Yes, this is his last contract. Yes, he got lowballed. So he decided to go somewhere. Everybody thought he might rejoin LeBron in Cleveland, which might have been an interesting deal. Although, really, where are you going to put him?
Yeah, it's
probably at the 2. Chicago is not ready to be a championship contender yet. So essentially, he just wants to play out his last few years in the league in his hometown team. That's all it is. Much respect for that. Miami did him wrong, but look, when it all goes said and done, Dwayne Wade's probably going to end up being Miami's most celebrated player anyway.
right.
So, you know what? Let Dwayne have his last few years in his hometown. He's earned it. Good for Dwayne.
So those have been the two biggest moves. Obviously, I didn't put this in the show description, but I gotta acknowledge it. Tim Duncan retired. Tim Duncan retired on Monday after 19 years in the league. A lot of people thought he'd eke out the 20th year, but Tim Duncan, as time goes on, the longer it took, you kind of had an idea. I think John Cena, who did a remarkable job last night, by the way.
Yes, he did.
He did a great job. John Cena, I think, said it best last night. I just lost my train. Oh, Tim Duncan. It was a joke, but in true Tim Duncan form, there was no drama. There was no pomp and circumstances retirement. It was just, here it is. The news comes out, couple quotes, couple statements, no big press conference, no big deal, and that's it. And that's Tim Duncan to a T. That was his whole career. He never commanded attention. He did his thing. People thought the Spurs and him were completely bland and boring, but boy, were they successful. And I really wish he could have gone out on a title. He did go out on the best regular season the Spurs have had in their history, which got overshadowed by Golden State, obviously. He had a great year. He could have, he said this, and he's right. He could have easily played a couple more years. He played a great year this year, but he said he didn't enjoy it anymore. And when you don't enjoy it, that's a good time to walk away. And he is the greatest. Shaq said it, and he's right. He's the greatest power forward. And the Spurs are in a good position. They've rebuilt themselves about him to be prepared to deal with without him being on the team. So they were smart about this. So the Spurs are still going to be a playoff team next year. But boy, is it going to be different. And to see Popovich talk about him, and it's going to be surreal, and it was a very emotional kind of thing. See everybody talking about him. So I think it's important to congratulate Tim Duncan on a great career, and he's earned the right to walk off into the sunset. I mean, it was a great career. It was a Hall of Fame career, and hopefully he stays involved in the game in some way because he has a lot to offer, especially in teaching fundamentals to younger players. So I just want to make sure we brought that up. Mike, anything to add before I start closing things out here?
Tim Duncan, you know what? When it comes down to it, the two greatest power forwards of all time will either be Tim Duncan or Karl Malone.
Right.
I think Duncan might have the edge over Karl because Duncan got rings.
Right.
Duncan would. I mean, it's not that's not a knock on Karl Malone's career because Karl Malone redefined the power forward position.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Tim Duncan took it to the next step. He took it to the next level. 19 years, I almost want to see – I almost wish he would have made it to 20. But, if it just isn't fun anymore, 82 games is a long time just to make it a –
Right. Yeah.
So Tim did it his way in the most Tim Duncan way possible. He made Greg Popovich do it.
That is very true.
And you know what? Tim Duncan is a first ballot surefire Hall of Famer. Tim Duncan redefined the position. Tim Duncan is, and what's sad is he was the gold standard for the NBA. He was the gold standard. He was the type of person. He was the type of athlete that you wanted to be. He was the best kind of representative for your league, where you got idiots like Nick Young out there just being a total tool. You've got Tim Duncan building houses for people, kind of with all the, and he's got his own charity work, and he's just a nice guy. Not only that, Etan Thomas, the former Syracuse center, back when he played for the Washington Wizards, I'll bring this up really, really quickly. Etan, who had been in the league for a little bit before Tim.
Right.
No, about the same time. Tim Duncan was not a big trash talker. He really wasn't. So Eton kind of gets blocked by Tim. Instead of trash talking, Tim tells him, "Go inside a little bit more. Kind of lead with your body. That way, you'll either draw the foul or I won't be able to block your shot." Next possession down, Eton gets the ball, goes in a little bit more with his body, makes the basket. Tim Duncan couldn't block the shot. Tim Duncan was the type of guy who will help you with your game in the middle of a game. Because it makes for better competition. It makes for a better game. It makes you better, and it brings out the best in him.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan was the best of the NBA. And the NBA, I don't see, you know what? Kobe Bryant was the best player. Tim Duncan was the best. He was the best kind of person the NBA could have hoped for. And he was a winner. Yeah, Kobe got his 5, but Tim got his 5 too.
Yeah. That's
Tim
true.
got his 5, and Tim got his 5, and he did it much more silently and much more dominant than I believe Kobe ever did. So, thank you, Tim, for all those years. Enjoy retirement, sir.
Yeah, and I'm sure a certain official is thinking about Tim Duncan. If that's not a real reference there. I saw
Hey,
people,
Mister. Yes, Joey Crawford can breathe a sigh of relief. That national scourge, that menace, Tim Duncan is finally gone.
oh my God, the only person in the NBA that ever thought something that ever got mad at Tim Duncan about something. Seriously.
Yep, because Tim Duncan apparently broke into his house and did horrible things.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. What I don't know what the hell that was ever about. I don't know. But yeah, and it's gonna be a weird league next year about Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant, but it'll be interesting. There's been a lot of talk. I just it's kind of like an elephant in the room. A lot of people have been asking me why we're not acknowledging it, and I'm not going to get into it because it's a rumor. It's I mentioned this in the show description. There's not much that can be said about it, but there are some trade rumors out there. The Celtics are going to do something. It'll probably go down tomorrow. There's 3 different rumors going around. One rumor has them getting Blake Griffin in a 3-team deal, which would put Rudy Gay in LA with the Clippers. Then there's another deal that has the Celtics getting Russell Westbrook only, and then there's another deal in which the Celtics get both Westbrook and Griffin. So there's 3 different kind of things going on out there. They're going to get one of them. I say Blake is the more likely of the bunch. I think the only thing that's probably holding it up is I don't think Doc wants to do it. I don't think he's crazy about the idea of doing it, but it looks like they might do it. So the Celtics, who have already signed Al Horford in a big free agent deal, might be making a big move, and it could happen tomorrow. Our source that I spoke of earlier has told me that they're going to get one of them, and it'll probably happen tomorrow. So if they get both of them, then wow. But it's looking like they're going to get at least one of them. So Brad Stevens might have a very. I told you, the Celtics are going to break through. They just had to make a big move. Well, they look like they're about to make a big move in addition to Al Horford. So we might have Cleveland might have a team to contend with next year up there. So that's going to be interesting. And a lot of people have asked about the Dwight Howard thing. You know, he went back to Atlanta, home area, blah 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 blah. He was crying. I don't want to say anything. Look, we said a lot about Dwight Howard on the show. If this helps him, if this helps kind of salvage his image and everything, God bless him. I hope it does. But there's a lot of damage and a lot of water on that bridge. You got the last couple of years he was in Orlando, the situation in LA, all his years in Houston. There's a lot to kind of go back and make up for. And I'm not convinced that he can really do it in Atlanta. I think he'll do okay in Atlanta. He's still a talented player when he's healthy. I think he'll. I don't know if he'll. I don't know how much success he'll have in terms of playoff wins and such, but Atlanta will get there and they'll do something. I mean, he'll they'll be competitive. But it is what it is. But I don't think you can rectify all these years of negativity around him in just 1 or 2 years, to be honest. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Mike, before I end, anything to add or not?
Nah, we're good.
We're good. Okay. Really quickly, I do want to acknowledge this because this is breaking news and far more important than the stuff we've discussed. But I'm not sure how many people are aware, but there's been an incident in France, involving a truck. At least 75 are dead. A truck plowed into a crowd in southern France, an area I think is it called Nice? Not sure if that's the correct pronunciation. I apologize, but CNN saying
Nice.
Not Nice.
Nice.
Sorry. Okay. Well, thank you for the correction. At least 75, according to NBC News, at least 75 are dead. They don't know what the cause of it was. I think the truck driver was shot and killed by police. But at least 75 are dead in this incident that took place in Nice, France. You're probably seeing it all over Twitter right now. I think it just started getting reported about a half hour ago. So we obviously want to extend our thoughts, prayers, and condolences to those who've lost their lives in that horrible incident. And everybody affected. Our prayers go out to you. That's another piece of horrible news, and what's feel like an endless array of horrible news. But I just want to make sure we acknowledge that because that is a little bit of breaking news that's been getting out over the last half hour or so. And again, far more important than the stuff we discussed on the show tonight. So our prayers go out to the people of France right now. It's a horrible situation out there. And with that, we will wind down here. As always, the show might be over. But you don't have to stop interacting or contributing to the show. You continue to have your voice heard. Give us your feedback, your opinions, reactions to things we said on the show, things we talked about on the show, questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, reactions or comments to topics we discussed. You want to suggest topics or breaking news items for us to cover. Any of those things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Just make sure you use the hashtag ITSpotlight411, hashtag ITS5. That one, of course, for our 5th anniversary on the air here as a podcast. Or you can create your own hashtag. You talk about wrestling, hashtag ITS Wrestling. Talk about movies, hashtag ITS Movies. You can just be creative, but don't be disrespectful or insulting. That's all we ask, or offensive. You can also find us on Facebook. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our page upon finding. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling. I always try to post updates on there if we're going to be late or something. Sometimes I'm not able to, but you want to keep up. You want to follow us on social media to make sure that you get the correct information if there's ever anything important for us to post. You have several ways to keep up with our show and look back at old episodes. If you're somebody that prefers streaming and seeing us on screen, then you might prefer to check us out here on Google Plus and YouTube. We can catch every one of our episodes that we've ever done on Google Plus and YouTube, going all the way back from mid-October all the way up into tonight's episode. They're all on here on both sites, Google Plus and YouTube. You can access those episodes anytime, whether you miss an episode, miss part of an episode, just want to check out an episode again. So just search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411 here on Google Plus and YouTube, and you'll have access to those episodes. If you're somebody that's more of a fan of audio podcasting, and maybe you're interested in more than just more of our recent episode, maybe you're interested in more of our older episodes, classic episodes, for whatever reason, then if that's the case, you might want to check us out on our main host sites we've ever done. Not just our Google Plus and YouTube shows, but everything we've done since October 2010 on Blog Talk Radio, all the way up until tonight's episode on Google Plus and YouTube. All of it's available on both sites in order from the most recent episode to the oldest. So all of our Blog Talk Radio, Talk Show, lives in iTunes, Podbean, Google Plus, YouTube. Every episode we've ever done is on there. So whether you missed an episode, or if you're a long-time fan and wants to look back at old episodes or even current episodes, or you're a new fan and wants to look back at see episodes from years ago for the first time, hear episodes from years ago for the first time, or just want to check them out, or if you missed a part of an episode, whatever the case may be, You can find us on Podbean and iTunes in audio format anytime you wish. Just search for In the Spotlight 4-in-1, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever done. And that's on Podbean and iTunes. So those are the ways for us to keep up with our show and check back and look back at old episodes. All right. So with that being said, I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Good night. Good luck.
I also, of course, want to thank myself for a great show, pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be listening later as well, thank you to you as well. That is it for this week again. Next week, we only have one show. We are not on the air on Tuesday. We are preempted. There will be no show on Tuesday. SmackDown Live has its first show, and we'll be doing a draft, so we're throwing a bone to our wrestling fans not doing a show. We will be preempted on Tuesday. Our next show will be a week from tonight, which is July the 21st, broadcasting and streaming live here on Google Plus and YouTube at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be a big show. We'll be previewing WWE's Battleground pay-per-view, going over the matches. Again, I don't know how much time we'll have for questions and comments. You can send some in either before the show or during the show next Thursday by email, Facebook, and Twitter if you like. I don't know how much time we'll have for it, but you can send them in. Hopefully we'll get to at least some of them. We'll also do sports, entertainment, box office beat, TV highlights, NBA, MLB, all that good stuff, all in one show next Thursday. That'll be a big, big show next Thursday, a week from tonight, and that'll be our only show of next week. So make sure you note that. So our next show, again, a week from tonight, broadcasting and streaming live on Google Plus and YouTube at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's next Thursday, July the 21st. Until then, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and a great week next week. We'll see you back here a week from tonight. Next Thursday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, have a good night, everybody.